Hi, it's me, Dr. Nasser Ali again from YPS, the Young Professional Society, and I welcome you to another short video on leadership. Now, today I will be speaking about 3 different pathways to personal and leadership development. Now, if you are one of those aspiring leaders who wants to become a leader in your field and you want to learn how to develop your skills so that you could become a better leader, then it's important that you focus on these 3 different pathways which will help you with your personal and leadership development. So what are these 3 pathways? Well, firstly is the intellectual pathway. Now that's very important, because as a leader you want to be an educated person. You want to be an educated person and you want to acquire knowledge about a particular subject. So what do you do in order to acquire knowledge? You want to read books. You read more books. The more books that you read, the more knowledge that you will acquire. You also can take some courses. You can gain some qualifications. You can watch some videos, and there's many information. There's a wealth of information and knowledge that's out there. As an aspiring leader, you need to take responsibility to take steps in educating yourself, in acquiring knowledge. And that's very important, because a leader needs to have the knowledge. So the first pathway is the intellectual pathway. The second pathway is the experiential pathway. Now this is where experience comes into play. And that could be experience from in your life, your observations in life, or your experiences from your different encounters or work experience. And that's very important, and that will help you to actually develop your skills, your leadership skills. And so it's not just about the intellectual pathway, because one thing is having the knowledge, but then you need to actually put that into practice. So for example, you can educate yourself and acquire all the knowledge that there is about cars. So you could know all about the different types of cars, how they are made, the different performance factors, and all sorts of information on cars. But if you don't put yourself behind the wheel, then you will never ever be able to actually drive a car. So it's important to have the knowledge, then to put it into practice. So the second pathway, the experiential pathway, is very important. So what you need to do is you need to get yourself into situations where you are able to practice and work on your leadership skill. So it may be that you get yourself involved in an organization where you are working in teams, you are delegating tasks to people, you are contributing in decision-making processes. So there's all sorts of skills that you can actually develop. So it's in your interest to get yourself into positions, to go for opportunities, or to take opportunities where opportunities arise, where you can actually practice your leadership skill. So that was the second pathway, the experiential pathway. And finally, the third pathway is the spiritual pathway. Now that's very important, and unfortunately some of the leaders actually neglect the spiritual pathway, and because of that they're not so popular amongst the people that they lead, and as a result they actually fail. But what this spiritual pathway, what it teaches you is, it teaches you to embed respect and ethics into the core of leadership. And that's very important, because it teaches you to work on your character. It teaches you to be ethical. It teaches you to be just. And that's very important, because when you're dealing with people, you need to show that compassion. And if you show that compassion, you're just to people, you're fair, you're considerate, then they will take you more seriously. And that's very, very important. And also with the spiritual pathway, it actually strengthens your beliefs, and it strengthens your link, your connection with your Creator, with your Lord. So when you're doing your thing, you're leading people or you're leading your organization, then you will know that in the back of your mind, your Lord is watching over you. Then you, with that fear for your Lord, you will not do anything that is non-ethical. So it's important that you actually work on your spiritual pathway. So I spoke about the 3 different pathways for personal and leadership development: the intellectual pathway, the experiential pathway, and finally the spiritual pathway. So it's important that you focus on these 3 pathways, you work on them so that you can develop yourself, so that you can become a competent leader and a successful leader.